a Canadian radio sanctuary podcast. Our guest is Ken Hildebrandt in Abbotsford, and he is the artistic executive director of the Galore 7 Theatre and Performing Arts. And Ken, a belated congratulations. 2021 was your 30th anniversary.
It was our 30th anniversary for sure. It kind of was a very low-key event because of what was going on with the pandemic. But we are hoping to do an actual official celebration of it in a better situation for us, the community, to do so.
Mm-hmm. Now, before the theater was founded in 1991, can you give us some of your background, your education, what career path, what led you to being involved in theater and the arts? Does this go back to childhood?
Yeah, my interest in theater actually started back in elementary school. One of the first memories that I have is actually attending a production of The Matchmaker. And I thought there was something very powerful about an actor being able to engage an audience in such a way as to make them laugh, and to laugh quite uproariously. They were just so engaged with that performer's acting. And I think that carried through in my elementary school years. I had a couple of opportunities to perform a few sketches, and there was just something really cool about being in front of an audience. I think maybe it was tapping into my need for some attention, being the youngest of three brothers. And that interest in theater grew through high school, and got involved in the high school spring productions, first backstage, and then helping out or performing on stage in a number of productions. And over that period of time in grade 11, I got inspired to start a small drama group within the church that I was attending. I thought there was something very cool about a group that met regularly for spiritual support, but also to pursue their passion for theater. We did a couple of different sketches. They were quite successful, and I think that was sort of the germination point of what was going to become Galore 7 later on. In grade 12, I got elected to student council, so I took a break from that. But my first year of university, we revisited this idea of setting up a drama group. And what's interesting about it is that the growth of Galore 7 actually mirrored exactly the growth, essentially, of medieval theater. Medieval theater, of course, was sort of the birthing ground for Western European theater as we know it. It started in the church as a way to communicate ideas from the Bible. It grew to be a very popular thing for audiences, and it outgrew the church. And so it stepped out of the church and into the community. And that's when you have the growth of the pageant wagons and these huge festivals, cycle plays. And Galore 7 in some ways kind of followed that trajectory. Over the first few years, it kind of grew in the church, and then at that point, it started to extend out into the community, and over time, started to grow into more of a community-based theater. Eventually outgrew its original facilities and started to progress that way.
When you were at the University of the Fraser Valley, I guess it was the University College at that time, right?
I am trying to remember if my first year was even still Fraser Valley College. I think that was the first year they turned into University College of the Fraser Valley, and was that for the first few years. And then they were able to get the degree program in place, and then they became University of the Fraser Valley. And so I was, I think, among the first grad classes to receive a degree from UFV. And at the time, Simon Fraser was sponsoring the university, and so my degree is actually from Simon Fraser University as opposed to UFV. But I did all my schoolwork at UFV.
Oh, I see. Okay. When did you actually sit down back, was it right in 1991 when you sat down with one or two others or however many people were involved to say, let's let this thing happen, Galore 7?
Yeah, I think it was in the spring of 1991 that I started approaching some people that I knew within my circle who had an interest in drama and theater, and started talking to them about, hey, would you like to be a part of a small group? We'd meet once a week, we'd do some sketches and maybe some other kind of production, and there seemed to be some good interest in that. So we actually met for the first time sometime in early fall of 1991. And we had a couple of initial meetings. We played some theater games together. We hung out a little bit, and it just sort of started very small and then started to grow as time went on.
What stage is it at? Is it a commercial enterprise, or is it mostly volunteers involved? How does it all work?
Well, I like to see Galore 7 as a community-based hybrid theater company, following essentially a semi-professional model where we have professional standards in all of the work that we do, and we try to emulate professional or industry standards in terms of rehearsals, in terms of the work environment, in terms of the quality of work expected. But it is still very much based in a volunteer organization. Many people who are involved with our theater are volunteers. We do have a small paid staff that helps take care of the management of the organization, but we were incorporated as a nonprofit society back in 2005, and shortly thereafter we also registered to become a registered charity, so we could issue tax-deductible receipts. It is definitely following a nonprofit model and a community-based model, but we also want Galore 7 to be a place where emerging artists and established artists can come together and work together to create and develop and showcase their artistic talents for, of course, the edification of the community. I hope that helps to explain a little bit, kind of riding that delicate balance between community theater as well as a professional theater company, that sort of semi-professional level where we want people to feel proud of the credits that they've developed here, that they can really dig their artistic teeth into work that is challenging, that's inspiring, and hopefully that they'll be very proud of the credits they receive, so that as they move on to other professional work or even on to more training, they can use these credits to help them in that journey.
Now, the actual facility, is that where the Matsqui Centennial Auditorium is? It's part of the City Hall building, is it not?
Well, we actually use a variety of venues. We have a small office and rehearsal space that we have leased out, and that's located near the Sumas border crossing. And then we use a number of different venues within the community. Right now, a majority of our performances happen at the Abbotsford Arts Center, which is a 700-seat theater that is operated by the school district. And then on occasion, we will also use the Matsqui Centennial Auditorium, which, as you say, is City Hall is also located. From time to time, we've used up to 3 or 4 venues in a single season because we don't have a home venue at this point in time. And that proves to be one of the biggest challenges for us as a theater. I think for us to grow and to prosper, we need that home venue that we can have some agency over so that we can continue to develop our programs. And that's proving a very difficult endeavor at this point in time, especially as property values increase significantly here in the Lower Mainland.
Yes, I can imagine. It would be nice, though, to have your own home theater, yes. Yeah. I have to compliment you on the Galore 7 Theater website. It is one of the most impressive websites I have ever seen. You have everything there.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, I will direct as many people as I can to your website. It is quite amazing. Podcast galore. One of the podcasts that I found fascinating, I mean, they all are interesting, is the experience of auditioning for a role. So somebody would click on that and they would get some tips on doing an audition.
Yeah, we're very happy with the podcast. It was something that was a brainchild of our marketing associate, Gabe Kirkley, who is also responsible for spearheading the website. And I think he's done just an exceptional job at putting the website together and also making it so that it's quite readable and people can navigate through it quite easily. But the podcast itself was actually an invention that came out of the pandemic when we were closed to in-person events and productions. And it was a way for us to try and engage audiences on, sort of behind the scenes type stuff about theater and about theater making. We didn't want to make it just about Gallery 7. We wanted to keep it a little bit more general so that people could access it a little bit more and, like you say, maybe get some inspiration around auditions, get some tips about it, or how to audition well. And so I'm glad that you've had a chance to listen and you found the resource useful. That's a very good thing. We had found that it's a little too much to try and continue the podcast at this point in time with all of the other things that are happening, because we're back to in-person productions and to a full season of theater. I really have enjoyed putting the podcast together. I think there was a really cool format, and who knows, maybe we'll come back to it sometime in the near future.
Well, it's not my place to say, but I would suggest keeping them up there regardless of how long they've been sitting on the website, because it's pretty generic stuff and you get some really good information on how theater works.
Yeah, well, that was the goal to start with the podcast, so I'm glad that it's resonating the way that we have intended it to. Yeah, you're right. There's maybe a few dated things that are in there, like specific to productions that might be happening at the time. But generally, the conversations themselves, I think, lend themselves to a more universal acceptance, if you will, where it doesn't matter if we're 3 years away from it, it's still relevant at that point.
If there's a young person listening, let's say, for example, a high school student, what would you suggest if they're interested in getting into drama, and perhaps they already are in high school, but how can they connect with you? Because you must have plays, of course, that would have some younger people on occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is just pick up the phone or just open up the computer and send us a message via email. If you're interested in working behind the scenes, we're always looking for people who can help crew our shows, from, assistant stage managers to running crew to lighting and sound operators to even just something as simple as helping us load in the set and load out the set after the show is done. For acting, we're always running auditions, and if you go to our audition page, people will see our audition schedule there, and people just need to sign up for the auditions. And sometimes we're casting for younger, sometimes we're casting for older. I would encourage young people to look at age range as opposed to their actual age, because they might be able to play both older and younger. And I would also say, even if they're not convinced that they're suitable for a role, come out to audition anyway, because that is a way for us to get to know them, for them to get to know us. And auditioning is always a skill that is good to keep up, because you'll be able to learn how to deal with some of the pressures of auditions, some of the stresses, the joys of being accepted into a production, sometimes the challenges of not being accepted. And I think it's just a good way to start developing that toolkit for being a successful artist, whether you pursue it as a professional or just pursue it as a recreational artist.
All right. Well, we will post your website so that people can be guided to that, or else pick up the phone as well. Present and upcoming plays or shows, can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, so the next show that we have coming up is called Baskerville, a Sherlock Holmes mystery, and it's a wild madcap style play that's based on the Hounds of the Baskerville. And any Sherlock Holmes mystery fan, or any mystery fan, or anyone who loves theater and loves entertaining theater should come out and see this show. It's being performed by 5 actors who play up to 40 different characters, and sometimes within split seconds of each other. It's very entertaining, and I think people will get a real kick out of it, especially as we're coming out of a particularly dark and difficult time. I think it'll bring some levity to people's lives that's maybe been missing a little bit in the last couple of years. And then we're wrapping up the season with a Canadian play by Lucia Frangione called Holy Mo and Stew Boy. We're marketing it as essentially a reverently irreverent retelling of the Moses and King David stories. And it's got a very postmodern kind of feel to it. It's two stories that are told by a set of traveling clowns. It's being performed in the community a couple of times. We actually had the professional production of it be part of our season years and years ago. Audiences loved it then, and I think audiences are going to love it this time when we self-produce it for the first time. I just wanted to say also, John, Gallery 7 Theatre is very much about the community. And I know I've talked about some of our origins. For some people, I think that acts as a bit of a, I don't quite understand what this is about. And really, Gallery 7 Theatre is about the community, and it's for the community. And we want to encourage everyone to come out and see our shows. Our mandate is really about social, relational, even spiritual matters, but also with a vision towards hope, vision towards reconciliation and redemption. And we also see Gallery 7 as being entertainment at the base, but I like to call it entertainment plus, where it's about, let's engage some themes that can help us intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and maybe hopefully make our community a better place to live, work, and play.
I think many would say you have already done that.
Well, I appreciate that. We'll continue the journey for sure.
All right. Okay, Ken, thanks a lot. And as I said, we'll post the website and people can get even more information there. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.